Hello. What follows is a 7-slide overview of the QO financial results for the last financial year, which ended on the 31st of May 2020. 6 slides following this agenda slide will cover the 5-year overview, a comparison with the previous year, some detail on income and expenditure, information on the grant from Hinkley Point Somerset Community Partnership, the cash position, and my outlook for the current year. This slide shows the surplus and deficit over the last 5 years. And before any new members ask, in 2017 we purchased new OCAD mapping software and built a new website. And in 2018 we spent money on junior coaching and updating some of our SI equipment. In the last year we have a net surplus of just over £1,100. I've shown this split into 2 segments. The first one, £1,000 deficit on what I would describe as normal operating activities, and we have at the moment a £2,000 surplus associated with the grant from Hinkley Point, which we'll touch on later. Here you can see the numbers behind last year on the previous slide. We'll go into some detail of these on the next slide, but it's an overview. Membership is about the same, slightly up, that's good. Events effectively break even, although significantly worse than the previous year. Development expenditure, about the same. Equipment, quite significant and higher than the previous year. Clothing, positive and more than we experienced previous year. Other income, yes, up again. And the last item, the grant from Hinkley Point. Now let's look at some of the detail behind each of those. Let's just look at each of those in a little bit more detail. Membership, effectively no change, which is very good. We do get some turnover, people leave for various reasons, but also new members join. On events, effectively break even in the last year, where we'd normally expect to make a surplus. And that's inevitably due to the fact that we lost a number of events at the end of the fiscal year as a result of the coronavirus, including our Galopin, which normally is quite a significant contributor. To give you a feel for some of the numbers, we're talking about in a normal year of getting entry fees of between £5,000–6,000 in total, and against that we put all of the expenditure which supports events, which range through map surveying, map printing, levies to BOF, access fees, etc. And those normally would amount to £45,000. So we would see a surplus which would help support and fund our other costs like website, equipment, etc. Development, little change in total, although the content changed. And last year, primarily, we had the weekend at Jewish Woods, which was very successful. And we also supported the QO team at the Campus Fort Final. Equipment, relatively high spend. In that last year, we updated laptops and we purchased the 5-year license on the SI software, so we won't incur that one again for quite some time. Clothing, we didn't make any purchases, but there were still members purchased out of the existing stock, so that was a net contributor. And on other income, generally unchanged, but because we supported the British Middle Championships with organising the car parking, and we received a share of the surplus on that event, which was good. And also we're able to hire out our SIAC Dibbers every now and again to neighbouring clubs when they hold events. On grants, and let's just look at that. Following a suggestion from the AONMB team at Fine Court, we were successful in obtaining a Hinkley Point Community Fund project for activities in the Southern Quantocks, and the grant covers funding of a permanent course in Ramscombe and come and tried events in the Southern Quantocks, partially funding the remapping of the Southern Quantocks, and that's a forested area between Cockacombe and Ramscombe, where there's been quite a deal of vegetation change and tracks, etc. And partially funding the update and extension of the Bridgewater urban map. All very good, and was proceeding happily until the coronavirus, and as a result of the lockdown and a number of the people we were working with being furloughed, effectively that's all come to a halt. However, we do have a meeting with Forestry England, the local team, in mid-August, and we'll see how we can map out how we proceed from now on. And the remapping of the Southern Quantocks is now planned for autumn, winter 2020, when vegetation has subsided. The community fund people are well aware of the situation, and the time limit for not only our project but many of the other projects is expected to be extended well into 2021. This slide shows the catch balances over the last 5 years. At present we have just over £11,500 in the bank, and this does include the remaining Hinkley grant monies, which will need to be spent during this fiscal year to cover the remaining commitments for those activities. Last slide, and the financial outlook for the current financial year. Somewhat uncertain with the impact of the ongoing coronavirus. When orienteering does recommence, then I think it will be a net negative financial impact for QO through probably reduced participation, purely as a result of the first events being local only, and also some of our older competitors may wish not to participate until there's more of a stable outlook as far as the coronavirus is concerned. There will be some additional costs for organising events, and with all the additional organisation requirements, etc., I suspect we'll have fewer events during the course of the year. However, at this point in time, I think we have sufficient financial reserves, and that we should not be taking any hasty decisions to change membership fees or event fees. That really we can only evaluate when we see how the year pans out. So thank you very much, and I think that we will probably be having a virtual Q&A on the AGM presentations later in the year.